Hello, Lucy and Conrad. Hello, Caleb. Pop is here to continue the story about the Fantastic Four and negative space because Reed Richards, our hero, Mr. Fantastic, has been swept into the negative zone and his very life is at stake. And so Spider-Man wants to find out what happens. And of course, Invisible Girl is very anxious to know what will happen to the love of her life. And so let's get into the story quickly. The story is titled, "And One Shall Save Him." Who is this mystery character who will possibly save Mr. Fantastic? But look, here is a brand new villain, never seen before. What are his great powers and what role does he play in our story? Well, let's jump in and find out. The banner says, "The grieving FF learn to abandon hope is to abandon life." And so we always must hope for better things in our lives. Ben is on a communicator phone. He says maybe we can't help Reed, but we can still contact him. I just remembered this trans-barrier phone we was working on to reach into the negative zone. Reed, this is Ben. Can you hear me, man? It's Ben. I'm calling you. In a desperate effort to save Sue, Ben, and Johnny from the Sandman's murderous attack, Reed Richards hurled open the fateful door leading to the dreaded negative zone. His daring action routed their enemy, but Reed himself was caught in the sudden surge of unleashed force, and he was carried away beyond any hope of rescue. Johnny says, "Can you do it, Ben? Can you really get through to him?" "Quiet, blast it. I'm trying to hear something." "Wait, he's coming through. I'm getting him." And we hear Reed's voice say, "Ben." And Johnny says, "You got him. That's his voice. Let me have it, Ben. Let me talk to him." "Hold it, kid. Hold it," says Ben. "Don't do it, Ben," says Reed. "Don't use the phone. Give up the idea. There's no chance of rescue. No chance." But Ben says, "There must be something we can do. Use your head, pal. Think. Think of something. Anything." "Listen, Ben, and listen close. Just say the word, Stretch. Just tell me. Whatever it is, I'll do it. We'll all do it. We can't just give up." And here he is hurtling through the negative zone. I'm caught in a debris belt, being drawn inexorably toward the exploding area around Earth. There's no way to check my speed. It would be impossible as trying to stop gravity itself. I can hear you and speak to you via the communicator on my wrist, but it's hopeless. I'm done for. Speed is increasing. I'm almost out of communication range. It's goodbye, old friend. You and Johnny were the greatest. And Sue, take care of her. Both of you, look after her, always. Tell her how much I loved her. Tell her I'll always love her. And look, he's hurtling through the debris belt. He's surrounded by, looks like asteroids. Meanwhile, back at headquarters, Johnny realizes his voice died out. I can't hear him anymore. That means he's out of range. Sue says, "It can't end this way. It mustn't. Reed, Reed, my darling, come back, come back." "Don't, Susie, don't," says Ben. "Hold on, kid. Reed wouldn't want it like this." Whoops. "Now I know," says Ben, "why he told me not to use the phone. He knew we couldn't help him, and he knew what hearing his voice would do to you." "But how can we leave him this way?" says Sue. "How can we desert him when he needs us most? We're losing him forever and doing nothing. Ben says, I'd give up my life in a minute, kid. I'd take anything that anyone could dish out if it would help him, but there ain't no way. No, cries Sue, there's always a way. Reed himself used to tell us that. Then, even as Sue's tremulous cry still stings the grieving souls of Ben and Johnny, a strange ethereal glow fills the tragedy-haunted chamber, and from its vortex an ecstatic call rings out. Johnny, I knew I'd find you someday. I knew Lockjaw would bring me to your side. Johnny, don't you hear me? It's Crystal. We're together. Again. At last. Johnny says, it must be the strain, the unrelieved shock. Now I'm hearing things. My mind is beginning to fail me. It can't be. And yet, her voice. I know it anywhere. She is here. It was what I wanted more than anything in the world, but not now. Not like this. And amazingly, Crystal and Lockjaw appear inside the Fantastic Four headquarters. What a turn of events is this? Johnny, don't you care? Do I no longer mean anything to you? Don't say it, Chris, answers Johnny. You don't understand. You don't know what's happened. Then tell me, my dearest, whatever is wrong. I want to know. I want to help. And Lockjaw wants to lick his lockjaws. Maybe he's hungry. Earth. All right. Look, says Johnny. Look through the scanner. The figure there, plunging through the negative zone. See it? There, getting smaller and smaller, further and further away from us. It's Reed. Do you understand? It's Reed. He's plummeting to his death toward Earth's explosive belt. And with all our powers, there's no way for us to save him. All we can do is stand helplessly by and watch. Crystal says, I didn't know. I never suspected. It ain't right, says Ben. It don't make sense. I'm strong enough to lift 10 tons with my bare hands, but what good does it do? We stood up to Galactus himself. We beat Doc Doom to a frazzle. We tamed Dragon Man and a dozen like him. But when it counts the most, we can't even lift a finger to save the greatest guy who ever lived. And then Ben thinks to himself, I can't stand seeing Sue like that. She ain't even saying nothing, just standing there like she's dying, right along with him on the inside. What drama, what pathos. This really is a sad story. And here's a full view of what they're seeing through the communicator vision screen as they look into the negative zone and the loss of their leader and friend and husband. I think I understand now, says Crystal. Mr. Fantastic, your leader, is trapped in something you call a negative zone and is being drawn closer and closer to an area in which he cannot hope to survive. Stop it! Stop it! Cries Sue. How can you speak of it so calmly, as though it's just a story, as though it isn't really happening to my husband, to the man I love? Forgive me, Mrs. Richards, answers Crystal. I am not unfeeling. I can only help if I am in full possession of the facts. Help? Cries Ben. What are you talking about? What in blazes can you do that the three of us can't? Perhaps I can do nothing, but there are others. Remember, the Inhumans have power unlike any other living beings. Johnny says, if only there was some way I could harness my flame. And what? The Inhumans? Are the others free too? Chris, is Black Bolt with you? And Gorgon and Karnak and the others? No, answers Crystal. They're far away over the ocean. Then what good can they do? Reed's got only a few minutes left. But don't you see? Time and distance are completely meaningless. Because of Lockjaw. Lockjaw, His power of interdimensional travel is instantaneous. Back, Lockjaw, take me back to Black Bolt. Chris, wait, hollers Johnny. What will you? I cannot explain. Trust me, Johnny. And then they're fading away again. At that split second, within the awesome negative zone itself, an event occurs which is witnessed by none save ourselves. We're the only ones who get to see what's happening. And we have this rocket ship that's flying through the negative zone. And inside, a voice says we have only seconds in which to rid ourselves of our deadly cargo. He is far too dangerous to remain at large upon our own planet. And yet so powerful is he that we have not the means to slay him. Therefore, our only solution is to exile him here in the debris belt, if we can do it without being destroyed ourselves. What are they talking about? There must be planets. There must be life inside the negative zone, and these figures are part of it. We have reached our destination. The space boulders which surround us are being inexorably drawn to their final annihilation. The prisoner must be ejected from the ship so that he may join them before the sedative, which keeps him motionless, can begin to wear off, and before we ourselves are caught in the irresistible suction and unable to return. And so they're about to unleash out into the debris belt a dangerous character, and there he is, wrapped up in a cocoon. He is correctly positioned upon our Magna Crane, safely encased within his adhesion suit. Set the controls for instant reverse as I propel him toward the nearest flying boulder. A scant second later, the silent figure adheres to the speeding chunk of space debris as the strange roaring craft zooms back from which it had come. But then an unpredictable fate frivolously arranges a most fateful and dramatic coincidence. So here is this character adhered to the side of the great boulder in the space debris. And there's Mr. Fantastic, who sees a rocket-powered spacecraft here in the negative zone. That means even in this mad, nightmarish universe, some form of intelligent life must exist. If only I had known, if I could have prepared some signal. But it's too late. At the speed they're traveling, I'm no more than a fleeting blur to them. So it's like being stranded on an island and a ship sailing by. Remember the coincidence we spoke of? In truth, it is far greater, far more momentous than any might suspect. For although completely unaware of another presence, Reed Richards clings faithfully to the self-same boulder upon which the unknown menace now silently adheres. You see, at the top of the boulder, Reed says, there is so much yet to learn, so much to see and marvel at, and a pity it almost ends so soon, before I have a chance to unravel the myriad mysteries of this strange, uncanny universe. But there will be others, those who come after me, and they will unlock the secrets of the cosmos one by one. For the mind of man is the greatest key in the world, the key which may one day open the door to immortality. And each of us in his own way does what he can for those who will follow. That is the only true legacy we can leave to those we love, that we have made the world a little better than we found it. But look, this is what is such a coincidence. The very boulder that Mr. Fantastic clings to is the boulder that this mysterious being is adhered to as they hurtle their way together through space. And now we must leave the brooding, ill-starred leader of the world's greatest superhero team as we turn our attention to a small island off the coast of Europe where an astonishing tableau is about to transpire. All right, this may seem like just an idle scene change, but it's going to be very important to our story. All right, here are some Europeans who are invading this island. Our nuclear sub has slipped through the NATO radar net just as we planned. Faster, faster. Once our atomic nullifier is in position, this now deserted island will be ours. Then with a base such as this, so close to the mainland, it is we who shall dictate terms to the Western Alliance. Careful, you clumsy oaf. The ray cannon you are pushing may change the balance of power on this entire planet. It's almost too easy. There is not another living being for miles who suspects our presence here. And so these evidently are communist enemies to the Western world, and they are trying to plant an atomic nullifier, a great weapon here that will make them the most powerful nation in the world. But they're wrong. There is somebody else on the planet. On that island. Position the cannon upon the highest peak. Set all controls for instant activation. We open fire at once. We will ring this isle with an atomic curtain that nothing can penetrate. But, one cries out, look over there, what is that? Silence, fool. This is no time for observation tests. I think they need to observe. But it's a man flying towards the cannon. And as the cannon warms up, zzz, look who it is. Who's coming? Who is this great, silent, bold figure? It's Black Bolt. It's not possible. He soars like a bird. He is pointing at the cannon. A fusillade of electrons issues from his fingertips. No, he is decimated. The greatest weapon in our arsenal. And he's decimated it with such a great sound blurb. Spatoon! Bam. Help! He seizes us as though we are weightless. He carries us off. Crack! Crack! Their guns shoot off uselessly. He glides silently, effortlessly, under his own power. What is he? What madness is this? But before the stunned invaders can recover from the shock of Black Bolt's lightning attack, another of the uncanny Inhumans enters the fray, as only Gorgon can. You dare attempt to occupy the isle upon which we have taken refuge? For that you shall pay, and pay most dearly. Boom! And with a mighty stomp, the powerful kick of Gorgon knocks them all aside. And wait, there's more! So there are those who escape the fury of Gorgon's thunderous kick, says Medusa. No matter, I only have to raise my mighty leg once more. I'm sorry, that was Gorgon that said all of that. But here's what Medusa says. That will not be necessary. Suffice it to say that Medusa is here. And so her hair grasps those characters and tosses them aside. The island is accursed. No matter who they are or what they are, I can't miss them at such close range, says a foolish soldier. How wrong you are, says Karnak. I shall not give you the chance you need. One man, alone, unarmed? You must be insane. He's not insane. He's Karnak, and he may be unarmed, but he also is armed. And his arm slices through the weapon. Zatak! No, I am not insane. I am Karnak. All right, they say get him before he can strike again. He cannot stop us all. So, once more, you dare to pit yourselves against the power of Karnak. And they say, "You are alone, while we are three, fully armed. Thus we dare anything." Using the most delicate, barely perceptible wrist motion, the confident inhuman executes an intricate maneuver with each hand as he butts his third foe senseless. Thwump, spack, fit, was, zap. And so he sets them all spinning in motion. Then, in less time than it takes to read these imperishable words, Karnak says, "We thought this isle would afford us the privacy we crave. It appears we were mistaken. Perhaps it was all to the good." Says Gorgon, "After what has just transpired, it is unlikely that any will intrude upon us again." Medusa says, Black Bolt has nodded his assent. He agrees with Gorgon's words. But now, what do we do with those we have overcome? Of course, all you need to do is create an electron field to contain them in safety, a field which Black Bolt will cause to automatically vanish when we are ready to send them to the mainland. So he set up an electron prison for the soldiers. But our task is not yet completed. The enemy submarine remains offshore, where it still may menace us. And what of Triton? There is no sign of him. He alone is missing. Yes, Triton is missing. And what of him? We need to know, because Triton will play a very important role in the rest of our saga. But we'll have to wait until next time to read about Triton and the rescue of Mr. Fantastic. So let's take a break, and I'll be back soon. Bye-bye for now.